Put more mayonnaise on my sandwich. So I was ready to go. Got some paper towels just in case, you know. I'm watching everything. Koreans are going to defend their country no matter what. That's a given. Nothing you could do to change that. I need some calories also. Everybody's just like talking without any notes. I don't have any, but I was just like, by the time I get everything down, it'll be tomorrow. So I was just like, fuck, might as well just say something. Sounds like it's healthier if I just do like 10 minutes. I'm gonna just do like 10 minutes, you know? Whatever. So I was proposed by my therapist around the week, do I love people? And I was like, yeah. As this was starting off, and now I realize that we're on a very Nazified type of environment here and abroad. I mean, I think a lot of ivory tower people figured out that Nazis hate people. They do not like humanity at all. And if you like humanity, you'd be like, do your best to try to equalize everything and treat your neighbor like yourself. You wouldn't try to justify horrendous acts as they need to happen however you can. Like, you're the Nazi. Accuse them of Nazis before you do Nazi stuff, that kind of thing. The whole propaganda aspect of it. Goebbels. You say a lie big enough, what is it, long enough, big enough, whatever, they'll believe it. I don't really agree with it, but if that's all you hear, yeah. But, I mean, it's true, don't get me wrong. You control everything, and you need to control the communication, not let it be open, and you need to preface this, and, talking about, and make sure this is the only thing people receive, and you're basically you're not controlling the message. You're trying to manipulate people because it's your view. It's not reality. It's not the truth. It's how your version of the twisted your view of everything. And so that's why you always need to rotate people, because you get these different opinions of the truth, and you take a plurality of that. Never have. That's why you don't have like Hoover in place forever. It's always his version of justice. I mean, so that's why you always have terms of office and everything. I'm talking about. So I'm not saying these people are inherently bad or whatever, but a lot of them are. We already discovered a large part of the population have nefarious agenda. Agenda, really. I'm going to finish eating, then I'll start. I'm going to finish eating, then I'll start. Croissant and chicken. Provolone. Lechuga. Celery. Mayonnaise. So light and fluffy. Why are there so many Karens in the United States? I think it goes back to the simplistic of the neocortex, where you displace, aggression with actual ability that you are able to convince somebody. So, unfortunately, you're confined to the specific instance where you think what you say aggressively will carry the day. But in reality, it's the totality of who you are that brings that response back to you. And so what you achieved in life and acquired, people have this disposition, by and large, to be cooler with you. But it all happens to us because we think back, that we were like socially like this aggressive without being rational, well, we could bully them into our beliefs. But the fact of the matter is, if you're wrong, you're wrong. No matter what you do or how loud you get is not going to change anything. And I think this goes back to, a lot of injustices in the world and in America, whatever, and in the minorities and Latinos, when people press up on you and be like, well, be all racist, and then all of a sudden they crap out and hit a Native American like they did with me in Jersey. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? It's just like you have this disposition that you're superior to me and you should have this. And I was like, fuck, what I'm saying? It's like, my people have been here for generations, what I'm saying? It's just like, how can you do that? I did everything I need to do, thank you, to succeed in society. I was raised by a white person. I'm talking about, I have white mannerisms. My culture was ripped out from me. I'm talking about, I was given up. I was told I was raised by a German, and you still don't like me. And you're still racist. So you're gonna tell me how you feel about me is what I did. I'm a 13-year-old kid, 10-year-old kid, or whatever. The only thing you have against me is the color of my skin. And you're gonna tell me different? You're just trying to justify that. And I think they wish to God that they were justified. They always do, I'm talking about. So it's just like, and the thing about it is, so they see me getting in that confrontation and using logic, and trust me, and you see us using corrupted morality, whatever, being black, Latino, white, Irish, Italian, but like, oh, we just came from the Southern Europe and or whatever because we have really pale skin and look different from the rest of, we're too white or we're too dark, we're not the correct whiteness or whatever, we're not a WAP, white Anglo-Saxon, you don't like us because it's literally based on how we look like. I'm talking about, you're going to tell us different. Then you see us getting into an argument, in a confrontation, and we're justified and we rationalize it, and people pick up on that. It's like, oh, they're winning the argument, and all they see is that aggression. And so now in our society, we think we're good, we did something wrong, or we got caught in a situation where we're embarrassed or whatever, or we've been slighted, and we think we should be better than somebody because either we're racist or we see that aggression and that propagates it out. And so we have a lot of Karens because they pick up on those things, our inherent racism that we're unable to do at that point in time. Everybody, is racist to agree, and we try to suppress it, but sometimes it boils up and, it comes out, and you be like, hey, I'm better than you. What are you doing? You slighted me, whatever, or talking about is like this. If I just be a little bit more aggressive and loud or whatever, I could carry the day and I could get what I want. I could get that power, money, respect or whatever. And in our society, we don't analyze things, and we don't try to we don't try to rationalize and have a dialogue and with people, a discourse. We just are so arrogant that since we're Americans, we're better. We don't have to do nothing but the simplest thing, but be, aggressive, and we carry the day. And now we don't understand why these other countries are outproducing us. Like Latvia, Lithuania, used to be even Ukraine or whatever, because they're working hard, they're busy. You know what I mean? So we're just, as a society, we're just very lax. I'm talking about, we just think these simplistic things and memes and whatever, and all we got to say is one little word or whatever, and now convince everybody. No, we have to be honest. We got to be truthful. We got to be firm. I'm talking about, or whatever else like that. But we got to use rationalization. We got to use this dialogue. We got to use, information, the totality of the picture, and not cherry pick information to manipulate people. Because that's the worst lie, is little bits of information to form this false narrative. Well, it's very big. We live in a racist society and we don't acknowledge it. Anyways. And when you don't acknowledge it, you don't want to change it. You know, this is already melting pot. You know, I'm already this. I don't have to do anything. Everything I do is perfect. No motherfucking way. If you're the only perfect person is God. You know what I'm talking about? And that is just, if you believe in that, you know what I'm talking about? Exploited divides in the country. They're already there. You further those divides. But that's not talent. That's not leadership. I mean, leadership is bringing people together. You use demagoguery and gain power through brutality. Is that really being a leader? Is that what you want to tell your son? Yes. Is that how you're going to further your generation? Is that how you're going to further your DNA into the next generation? Your kids? Your family? By demagoguery and hate? You're going to tell them, you know, saying, instead of building society, you play the fucking dice and see, you know, if you're going to be one of the select few that are going to be, and that, you know what I'm talking about? It's just crazy. You build communities, you build families. We have to be firm sometimes. I'm forced to be firm out here. You know, I have to tell people now because I sort of kind of realize that they only see the world a certain way. And so it's just like, you can't possibly be native, you know? I was like, there's nothing I can do. That's my DNA. The majority of my DNA is Native American. There's nothing I can do about that. So, you know what I'm saying? Nothing you can do about it. And I'll answer this. My favorite crypto, there cannot be just one. So, I mean, it's like, it depends. What are you going for? Binance Smart Chain is probably the best option because there's a lot of different projects built off of that. So if you wanted to get the core of that, you want to get as much Binance you can. But at the rate that it's going at 370 or whatever it is when you see this, you know, do you want to put it in that, or do you want to have it in an upcoming blockchain that might be the next blockchains that is going to be overtaking Binance, you know? Everybody's like Ethereum, now it's Binance, and then what is the next thing? You know, is it Polygon? You know, Matic or whatever? Is it Harmony? Is it Avalanche? Is it Solana? You just don't know. You know what I'm talking about? So it depends how you want to hedge your bets on what's going to be the next thing, you know. And then you want to, if you want to do in a project, it's more of a Hail Mary. So you got long, short, you know, you got long and short, how you want to look at it, you know. But then again, do you want to stake also? So you want to go into blockchains and use whatever you stake in the blockchains and then do your Hail Mary passes. So it all depends. It's all decentralized. It's more of a catchphrase now. It's technically decentralized, you know, and whatever else. I mean, the banking system is confined within, you know, the constraints that we have from the Middle Ages and even before that. So to say it's decentralized, it really means it's not really adhering to historical structures that we did have. Not saying they're inherently bad or whatever, but they have like they definitely are restrictive in nature to the populace, whatever. So you have cryptocurrency or whatever coming up, and it's more accessible to the population, the world population, that is not constrained by the old structures, whatever. So I mean, it could go across borders and cross nations or whatever, you know. Not, you know what I'm saying? So you want to use that with it being more structured, because what it really is this, it's a standard of value, right? You know, I mean, that's all what currency is. You know, it's a standard of trust. You know, I don't know if people use that term or whatever. I don't know. It's a unit of trust, I guess more of it. What's going on? But yeah. So that's how. So it all depends. I would stick to blockchains. It's the safe bet. Yeah, it's all argumentative. I don't know. It all depends how you want to do it. It's like that's how I look. That's how I see it. I mean, if I had $2 million, I'd probably be a billionaire. I'll tell you that much. It's crypto. You got to look at an industry though. You don't want to look at any specific thing. But it's just how we're moving as a society. But what is currency? It's a unit of work and everything. So it's just like you get into these esoteric things and you're just like, fuck, dude. Um, and it comes down to whoever wants it more, you know. Um, you know what I mean? And then basically what Putin's doing, he wants it more. Ethereum 2.0 will go into Ethereum 3.0, up to Ethereum 10.0. It all depends. I could give an opinion about it, but I'm just saying it's just like you have technologies, right? And they're all pushing up, I'm talking about. And if they work, people are going to incorporate what works. So, I mean, I really don't have an opinion of it. I know that what's working is what's already out there. It's what people are utilizing, I'm talking about. And so, what my thought about it is that you go what's actually being used, not will you have some kind of emotional, they call it bias on something. I mean, it's hard. I mean, and that's the whole thing. Like, I came in a certain way. Am I looking at Binance a certain way? I mean, do I, because I look at it, I have more of some sort of attachment that gives me undue, um, um, I don't know, like this, undue more thought on it, and therefore that equates to me, liking it more. I don't know. Well, blockchain is sort of like a term of an unbreakable um, code. So, I mean, it's not really, I'm talking about so. We trust that it's unbreakable. If it's, yeah, that's true. But if it can't get around the problems, people don't use it. So, I'm going to get into what's happening in Ukraine. So, now Putin stated that he's willing to try to alter the playing field. we have these responses that are already written down that, you can find to as a deterrence. And then he's saying we have a deterrence. Russia has a deterrence. You know, but the way we think the world works, we got highly analyzed about things. We're playing this game of chess. Are we really playing a game of chess? So we like to overanalyze things and try to quantify it like we're higher than now and put ourselves in ivory towers, is that this specific action is going to get this specific response, and if it doesn't, there's something wrong with them, not wrong with us, whatever, because we put ourselves in a position where we're arrogant and we think we know how everything is going to play out, and we just don't. And just exactly what's happening now, to state that anybody, one person knows, is this hubris in itself or whatever. And so it's really a range of things. So what I'm about to say is just it's just going to be within a range of things that could possibly happen, whatever. You take elements of that, and has to be highly adaptive like everything else or whatever. And I know that's really general, and that's really, minimizing whatever I'm stating, but there are certain things that are going to play. It's going to play out how it's going to play out because of one simple fact. Russia decided to invade Ukraine. And Ukrainians are going to defend it. And then they're going to, people was like, well, if we do this, then this happens, and then this happens, and it's escalation. But it's really not. He already set on a course of action. And we are, and as he's doing it, we're making action. So it looks like we're escalating, but what he's doing is trying to reach a higher level of violence before we do it. And that's really basically what it is. It's like if you're out like in Jersey or whatever, people like talk shit or whatever, and you got, my corrupted self, and you would just hit the person, I mean, now it's just like, someone is like whatever and thinks you're something other than native, and be like, no, I'm native, you're not, and you're perpetrating. And I tell them outright, it's legal, and they're not used to it. It shocks them socially. It's very assertive. It's almost socially aggressive, but you just jump to that. Because you're not losing anything. They already don't want to deal with you because they're so biased, set in their ways. No matter what you do, they're not going to incorporate you into their society. So you're losing nothing, because what they're stating is that here I am, I'm native, even though I don't have the native blood. But here you are with the native blood. So it's just like this disconnect or whatever, because they're so used to saying it in this isolated island or whatever. And they don't encounter actual other communities, but they think they do, I'm talking about. So there's just this, this very, that's where the conflict is, whatever. And as is really highly unusual for someone to state who's not Latino, to me, that's be like, oh, I'm Latino. I'm like, you're not. It's just very bizarre. And I'm going to tell you that. I'm not going to be like, I've been here a while. Those connections have not been made. If you're going to be Latino, then be in my community. You know what I'm talking about? And now I know that you don't want me in a community. I have to state that, no, do not state you're Latino if you don't allow Latinos in the community, whatever, what I'm talking about? That's just not how it works, what I'm talking about? Now I'm going to tell you that. You're adhering to another culture. And just say it's Asian. It's cool. But just say it's Asian. Your blood is Asian. Your behavior is Asian. You talk Asian. You eat Asian. You're Asian. It's cool. But don't say you're Latino. And then to other Latinos, You know, I'm talking about you don't allow in and say you're Hawaiian. And that in itself is bizarre because you're not even adhering to what your blood is. You're adhering to that you're another people and you make it in a social club. So it's just like you have to tell people that. So you already jump instead of being cool and trying to bond because that doesn't work. You have to jump all the way up here and be like, no, your adherence is to another culture outside of America. Mine is inside of America. And that's where I have a problem. And I will tell you that. To lose nothing. But they want you to be the outsider. So it's like the Americanism's not out here. And they've been lying to themselves for so long and lived in a state of habitual lies. And I was young. I lived in that. I know what it is. You just got to remove it from you slowly. And it's a painful process, you know? You had to come to terms with who you are. You know what I'm talking about? That's it. And it pushes you, though, because you're this. You need to become this. So you go to the gym. You study. You do what you need to do. You know, so you don't put out a false image. You don't try to manipulate people. This goes back to, okay, I want to go in real estate. I want to make money. I want to gain those things that people are like, hey, you did something with life. So people have a better disposition towards you. So you don't have to be a Karen, you know, I'm talking about, or a Chad or whatever, you know. Okay. But I want to use empathy and compassion and love, but it doesn't get you because you're viewed as weak as doing it because you're an outsider. You don't have those qualities. You're either a pussy or you're weak. You know what I'm talking about? There's no whatever. So I have to be extremely firm. So hopefully they'll acknowledge in a society, yes, I am this, and it's okay. I am Asian. It's fine. You don't want to say that you're this race or that race. It takes away from people who are Tongan, Samoan, 50% Hawaiians or whatever, because now all those resources go to these other people that could perpetrate than the actual people. And there's the only way. That's the only way I'm going to make it out here. And if it's just me alone, I have no choice. I can't change who I am. Just like the Koreans, they can't change who they are. You told them that you're only going to allow the people you deem is worthy to be alive. To be alive. And they should lay down their arms and accept their fate. That's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And Putin's going to try something to intimidate them. He's already bringing in weapons that are already arguably weapons of mass destruction, heavy flamethrowers, and other things like this, whatever. But if you use that, you're not only did you put out there, not only they already know through historical, you know, events that what Putin and just the Russian regimes do. You know what happened in Chechnya and everything else. You know, was that Dagestan over there? It's just like, you already know. What do you expect them to do? You're making good people fight for everything they have. And that's why they're so unified. And is that what bombs them? That's what they're fucking all mobilized. Not because, I mean, you know, fighters were close or whatever, but you find that, you know, people just trying to make their lives better and trying to build their, you know, family and community. Those connections are going to even unify them to fight, you know. It's like shit. They're going to push through all that, you know, all that fear and this, you know, chaos, and make it a tight, concerted defense. You know what I'm talking about? That's something that's already happening. It's obvious. The thing about it is now they're taking down so much men and equipment. And with the tools they have now, and we're supplying them, and they're learning how to fight really quickly. And I was thinking in my head, oh, it's going to be exponentially or whatever. They're going to learn how to fight, and it's like those numbers are going to go up, whatever. Not really, but significantly. I don't know, what is it, 2 times, put a number on some ratio, whatever person want to do the numbers. But, you know, the better the weaponry, the better they know how to do it, the more supplied they are. It's going to reach that threshold where they're going to take down just a lot of Russians' equipment and material. And if you have 50% of what the armed forces of Russia has in Ukraine, I mean, what is Russia going to push in more? And it's going to be to a point where you're destroying all of Russia's military capability. And if you know you're destroying all of Russia's capability, it is only natural for you to push back. And where are you going to push back into? You're going to push back up into Minsk. Is it a nuclear country? I don't know. I'm going to say it's not. Non-nuclear country. I'm not exactly sure. But that would be the avenue that I would choose, because they just attacked you. And you're going to go straight for a regime change. And if they're smart, well, I'm not going to say if they're smart, I'm not going to, because that right there is just like using reverse psychology. I'm not doing that. Well, I think if that happens, it's almost a good possibility, we'll say. It's a good possibility that Moldavia and Georgia right now are gearing up. And if we already have clandestine people in Ukraine, we want to take even more pressure off. We're destroying tanks and material at that rate for the push up, whatever. And we want to take that pressure off. Because what Putin's going to do, he's going to keep trying to use whatever it is to try to do that one bullying act to subjugate the Ukrainians. There is no bullying act to subjugate the Ukrainians. There isn't. It doesn't exist. And that's what Putin needs to know. You could drop a nuke, tactical nuclear, it still won't stop them. And how do you stop that tactical nuclear weapon? Is to tell him it's not going to work before it happens. The other way is to make sure that it's never launched in the first place. And the only way to do that is just have everybody rise up at once. Moldavia, Georgia, um, Chechnya again, the next to Dagestan or whatever the fuck it is, you know. You start inserting teams in those areas and arming them to push it up, and the the protesters, and it defies reason. I know it defies reason, and I know it sounds like more destruction, but this way is one of the ways, if not a foundation of probably what's going to work. Because you need regime change. People are like, well, if we could surgically go in and remove Putin and the oligarchs, that's the ivory tower stuff. You know, you're overthinking it. You know, I'm talking about what happens if it doesn't work. What happens if someone does turn the key? You know, I'm talking about a more realistic thing is if you have tens of thousands of people rushing the Duma, every other site, whatever, to bring down these people and be like, we need democracy. Stop this shit. This shit's crazy. We're faced with some very brutal decisions and facing something very brutal. High-minded surgical things. You're gambling, rolling dice. I'm not saying don't do those things. But you need to do everything. The totality of everything. And don't forget the simple stuff too, man. The big stuff, the macro stuff. The macro stuff is to make these people, make everybody, have the world have a better life. You know, everybody, you know, have as many people live as possible. That's the big goal. And how do you quickly get it there as fast as possible? Some very firm, violent decisions need to make, because what's going to happen, he's going to gradually teeter up or whatever. And before that happens, you need to like do it before he does. And that's not, doesn't mean launch all the missiles or that's not the only option. It's far from the only option. So many stuff below that we could do. And I'm telling you, that is one of the big options. You mobilize everybody that wants to stop nuclear Armageddon to do it now right before it happens. And you're like, well, we should have done this a few weeks ago, or a few days ago, whatever. And you crack open your pocketbook. You know, talk about your nation's pocketbook, whatever. Like, if you are around a nuclear weapon, we'll pay you $10 million not to turn the key. You know, I'm talking about, you do everything you can so that does not happen. You pay $20 million to someone does turn, and you to shoot the guy that's going to turn the key. You know what I'm talking about? You make sure that's never going to fucking happen. Or they're even launched. Because you could say, like, put a no-fly zone over Russia. Anything that goes up is going to be shot down. Yeah, you're going to do all that. And you should do that. Make sure nothing's launched or whatever. But you got to stop before that happens. So you got to do that. Find everybody that has access to nuclear weapons right now and bribe the fuck out of them, convince them, talk to them like a man. But like, we want civilization to prevail. We want life to prevail. We want humanity to prevail. We don't want whatever this madness is to happen. And you rationalize with them, you know, until you use reason. And you every tool under your tool belt, you know what I'm talking about? And we want to make you a democracy. We want to have the Russians have a good life, you know what I'm talking about? We want to keep civilization. We don't want whatever this shit is. We don't want that. We want this. So you have to, everybody knows there's teams in Ukraine. Put those teams in Moldavia, Georgia, Dagestan, Chechnya, and now now that's what Ukraine has to do. They got to counter infiltrate. They already had saboteurs. You got to have counter saboteurs or go into the protests and start arming them, because that's what you need to do. Honestly, is just to drop weapons and AKs and everything over fucking Russia. Every citizen. Let them do it. Let them take over the Duma. Because there's no way he could drop a bomb on everybody. So if he knows that he can't drop a bomb on everybody, he's not going to launch it. That's the only way. Because if he thinks he could drop a bomb and intimidate somebody, he's going to do it. But if he knows he's not going to win, it's end. Done. You know what I'm talking about? And you convince him, if you don't do it, you also have a good life. Stop the shit. You do everything. You just don't say, well, we'll launch yours and try to intimidate him back. That response, when you try to do that, it gets the same response. You know what I'm talking about? You do everything. Everything. You know what I'm talking about? We're not used to that. We're sitting on our ivory towers and we think we can outsmart somebody, outthink somebody, or whatever. All we got to do is this or that or whatever. No. You put everything into play to stop that. And now when everything's already in play, the only result we can have now is regime change in Russia and in Belarus. It's the only way. It's done. You know what I'm talking about? Think anything less, you're living in fantasy. You know what I'm talking about? Nobody, if you sit down, they want civilization. They want their kids to have a better life. And we need to get there. Some people's not the way. And, you know, it's just like, it's hard to, you know, state certain things need to happen. Everything that's life, you know, that you're stating. But is that life gonna preserve like humanity and civilization? I don't know, man. But if someone's already setting a course of action, you're reacting to what they are, and it's gonna be too late. You need to go for that knockout blow and resume change as quick as possible before he does it and tries to put out some knockout blow or what he thinks is a knockout blow. Because there's not going to be the Ides of March where they're going to say Caesar needs to go down. You've got to make sure that you got the whole populace and all of civilization be like, no, we want civilization. We choose civilization, not just a handful of people. You put those teams in there, of course, you do everything. Do everything you possibly can. All right. I'm out. Peace.